Welcome to another episode of CJ's Corner. I'm CJ. This is my corner of the world. And today, I'm going to help you to understand how to put together an electronic press kit. They're known as an EPK. Some people just call them an ePress kit. But that's what we're doing today, so let's get started. Welcome. Now remember, we're here to always help you to craft stories that will captivate, engage, and influence your audience. So you're wondering, how does that happen with an electronic press kit? Well, you have to captivate them. You need to influence the media so they write an article about whatever the press kit's about. So it's very important that you understand how story works in the area of electronic press kits. So I have a couple things to go over with you to give you a quick overview. So let's get started right now with the fact that there are a couple of key things that must be in an electronic press kit. First of all, you have to have your company overview. Now, some people say, well, gee, I'm a musician. I don't have a company per se. Well, you kind of do. You have a brand of some sort, and that is your company, whether it's a proprietorship or an S corporation or an LLC. You do have a company and you need to present yourself as a business entity. You can get more specific into the details of who you as a person is. But the key is that you need to have a presentation as being a company. Why? Because it helps the media to understand how to slot you. The next thing you need to do is you need to take a look at your contact details. What is the minimum contact details they need to make sure they actually get a hold of you? Why? Because if they're contacting you, they either need more information, specifics, they're considering doing a story, they need an interview quote, or other related items. And you want to be able to provide them what they need so that you can be successful. Next, whatever your product information is. Now, this could be a service, so don't worry about that. It can be a service or a product. It can be multiple products if you want. Usually, there's something unique about a specific storyline that you're creating. For instance, let's say you came out with a brand new widget. Well, you don't have to talk about your family of widget products necessarily. You can have one paragraph that references that, but you want to be able to pinpoint in on the item that is newsworthy. By the way, let's just say right up front that while these elements are what needs to be in a press kit, you have to understand that the press kit needs to be going out based on the fact that it's newsworthy. There's something unique or something inspiring or something motivational, whatever it might be, is happening soon, and they need to run that story. That's the key. You really have to make sure it is newsworthy. And you don't play the game with yourself where you're like, oh, well, I think it's newsworthy, so therefore. No. Figure out why it's newsworthy for them. This is not where I want to head today. But let's say that you have in your town or area where you're going to be promoting, let's say you got 5 newspapers, 3 radio stations, and a TV station. And maybe 20 bloggers and another 10 podcasters. That's right, they're all media. They all deserve your press kit. Now, with this press kit, you want to make sure it's aimed at who the audience is. And the audience isn't the end user per se. The audience first, from a packaging standpoint, is the media company that is going to promote you. So keep that in mind as you put your electronic press kit together. So the logo has to be there, and it has to be there in a couple different ways, shapes, sizes, flavors. Why? Because you don't want them redoing it or stretching it or distorting it. If you want them to use your logo, which they may or may not, you need to provide them multiple sizes of it and so on. Now, in this case, what I prefer doing for my customers is that I like to create a website area that has all these things properly labeled for sizes and so on, and they can download the one that they want to use. So inside the electronic press kit, you would have a click on, it would jump them to the website, and here's all the different variations of the logo. For instance, when I did some stuff for Sears, I had a black on white version of the logo and a white on black version of the logo. I had the blue version, which was in their Pantone color, and multiple sizes. So you want to do the same thing. You also want to give them the brand specs. If there's a certain type font that you typically use or whatever, colors, those are informational, those are helpful. They're not obligated to follow it. But if they're going to do something and present your package in like a magazine format, they'll probably want to take advantage of your color scheme. If it's just an article or copy, or they're going to use a photo or something instead of any other kind of branding information, that's okay. Not a problem. But within that brand specifications, you also want to talk about your slogan line, taglines, whatever type of stuff you have that gets across the atmosphere of who you are as far as a company goes and as far as your product or service goes. Okay, now media assets. Most of it is going to be photos. You might have a few sound bites. You might also have some video clips. Why? Because there's a lot of video bloggers out there now, or video podcasts, as most people like to talk about it. That's right. You're watching this. This is one of those, a video podcast. So if I'm going to be talking about somebody who sent me a press kit, I'm going to want to show a video clip of them. It's the way to do it. It's the best thing to do. So something to consider. Okay, then there's other key elements that you might want to put in. You might want to put past articles, especially if you got certain awards and things, and it's talked about in the articles. Or maybe you took your own pictures and have a little press release attached inside of this press kit that references the award in case they want to do a paragraph on the award itself. You always want to think through what will advance the storyline I'm trying to share. Yeah, that's right, storyline. We're back to storyline. You see, this is always about story, and you have to do two things here. You have to first captivate the media to decide to run an article for you, or run an article about you or your thing or your product or your service. You also need enough information that it's pertinent from a newsworthy standpoint for their customer or their end user. So you get your work cut out for you. You really have to think of things not from your perspective. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore these days. You have to think about it first through the media's perspective as far as how you package it and present it to them. And then you have to think about it from their end user standpoint. So if a magazine is thinking about doing an article on you, you have to be able to first let them know why it's worthy of them doing it as an article, and here's all the things they might need to put into the article for a successful article, and here's how to contact me for an interview, etc., etc. But you'll also want to say, okay, who reads their magazine? What kind of people are they? Is there a certain demographic that they fit? Are they more men or more women? Or is there certain cultural backgrounds or race involved? Or is it across the board and very diverse? And once you have a feeling of, what's really going on there, that's when you have to say, okay, the content I'm going to be giving them, I'm going to write it in a way, especially the main press release that's in the press kit, I'm going to write that in a way that it almost already reads really well for their audience. Now, I will guarantee you, the good companies are going to rewrite it. Why? Because they know their audience better than you can guess. And they're going to write it exactly the way it needs to be for their audience. But if you get close enough, and if you're going out to some media outlets that are a little bit smaller or lack the resources, the time, the employees to do follow-up, they might just lift information out of your press release and put it into their publication. I've literally had probably 60% of the articles that have been done based on kits I've sent out for various customers. 60% of them just copied things word for word. Yeah, it's almost scary. You have to make sure your copy is publish ready. But the other 40% came up with great, incredible, creative ideas that made them stand out in the crowd. I did one piece about a gentleman who was having not only his 90th birthday party, but on top of it, he was celebrating 60 years as a speaker. That's right. He got onto stage and did speaking engagements, and he had been a member of Toastmasters International for 60 years. That was an anniversary date at the same time that he was having his birthday. Same week, they did one party. I created a press release for that. It got the attention of one of the largest, well, actually, numerically speaking, it was the largest radio business news radio station in the nation. They did an article. Don't know that was on the, they have multiple stations. Don't know how many of those stations it played on. But I do know the one airing that I listened to, and there were more than one airings, but the one I listened to, 90,000 people, give or take a couple hundred people, were listening at that very moment. 90,000 people because of the press release. We also got a newspaper to write an article as well. None of what was created had any wording that was in my press release, but my press release was sufficient to cause them to get creative and to put together their own piece. And that's what you want to do with an electronic press kit. An ePress kit is something that you put together to grab the media's attention. And for the smaller companies out there, you also do it in a way where you can help the smaller people just copy and paste pretty much and create something. So your photos have to be excellent quality. Again, you can use a website to have multiple size photos and colors and things for them to download, and that way they can, be really happy that they can pick and choose the ones they want. Some people will crop the photos. It's okay. It doesn't have to be the way you think it should be, because they know their audience better, and if they can cultivate it and do it in a way where they can make it happen, it's going to get more readership or more viewership. Because remember, you can also put videos up there for them to use for all the electronic podcasts and so on. Here's the thing about video. You can put together a little blurb, a little interview segment, but you also have to put together B-roll. So if they cut their own show together, they have extra footage to use of various things. So let's say I just wrote a book and I want to get it out there and have a press kit to let people know the new book is coming out and blah, blah, blah. Well, I need some shots of me typing away at the computer, maybe writing on a notepad out next to the river, sitting at the sunset, sipping coffee with the new copy of the book in my hand. Those individual shots, maybe anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds. You can give them a little bit longer length if you want them to pick their own segment. Any of those, they could cut together in any order, any combination, depending on how they want to tell the story. So you have to keep that in mind. All right, so let's do a quick review here. So with creating an ePress kit, you want to have your company overview, contact details so they can contact you and ask questions and get more information or do an interview session. The product information as far as what is it that you're promoting. Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it one thing? Is it a family of products? Is it a new announcement where you're actually moving to a larger facility because you're doing so well? Whatever it might be. Then any kind of materials you have that supports your brand, including your logo, because they may or may not use it. Depends on the kind of company, media company it is, and what their goal is. You want the media assets themselves, the pictures, the audio clips, the video clips, the B-roll video clips, and then any other key elements, whether it's clips and things from previous promotional things happening for this particular product launch, or if it's some background information because this author that you're promoting with their new book has a unique little experience where they do sword fighting on Christmas Eve each year. Whatever kind of extra elements that you want to put into there to get across the human connection or the human flavor, things of that nature. So those are the kinds of things we're talking about. I hope this has helped. I hope you can now see how to build the story you need to make sure your electronic press kit is a successful one. So, until next week, have a great weekend. And happy future Thanksgiving. It's coming.